My coworkers asked who I'm dating, and I said nobody because I'm embarrassed it's you. She admitted casually over dinner. I paid the bill and never spoke to her again. Those same coworkers saw her beg me to come back. For 5 months, my life had had a secret soundtrack. It was the hum of my computer monitor syncing with the quiet tap of her keyboard across the partition. It was the shared, almost imperceptible eye roll during Ted's interminable Monday morning status updates. It was the ping of a private chat window that would light up my screen with a message that had nothing to do with quarterly reports. Her coffee? My treat. Me. Only if you promise not to steal my straw again. Her. No promises. Stairwell in 5. Her name was Qley, and for 5 months, she had been my secret. To everyone else at Nexatech, we were just Liam and Qley, competent coworkers in the analytics department. We attended the same meetings, collaborated on the same spreadsheets, and exchanged the same polite, professional pleasantries as everyone else. But beneath the surface of that corporate placidity was a current of something electric and entirely ours. I lived for the brush of her hand when she passed me a printed report, for the way she'd smile at something I said in a team meeting, a smile that held a universe of private meaning just for me. I'd never been good at office politics or the forced socializing of happy hours. But with Qley, the office became a different place. It became a playground for our secret. I loved the clandestine nature of it. It felt precious, like we were protecting something too fragile and real for the fluorescent lights and water cooler gossip. I thought she felt the same way. That Friday night, the soundtrack was the gentle clatter of cutlery and the low murmur of other diners at the Olive Grove, our spot. It was a cozy, unpretentious Italian place with checkered tablecloths and candles stuck in Chianti bottles. We came here every Friday. It was our ritual, the official start of the weekend where we could finally stop pretending. She was glowing in the candlelight, laughing about a client ridiculous demand, and I felt a surge of something so profound it almost hurt. This was it. This was the feeling you spent your life hoping to find. You're in a good mood tonight, I said, smiling across the table at her. Always am on Fridays, she replied, her eyes sparkling. Oh, you'll love this. Something funny happened today. I leaned in, eager for the story. I loved her stories. So, I was at the coffee machine with Sarah and Mark. She began, taking a sip of her Pinot Grigio. And Sarah was like, Qley, you've been literally glowing on Fridays for months. What's your secret? Are you seeing someone? My heart did a little flip. This was it. The outside world was starting to notice the happiness we'd created. I felt a flicker of pride. Yes, I thought. She's seeing me. Oh yeah. I prompted, my smile widening. The jig is up, huh? What did you tell them? She let out a light, airy laugh, the one I used to think was music. She met my eyes, her expression one of casual, unthinking amusement. I said nobody. Obviously, the words didn't compute at first. They hung in the air between us, nonsensical. My smile must have faltered, because hers just stayed put, pleasantly confused by my reaction. You said nobody? I heard myself ask. The noise of the restaurant seemed to fade, replaced by a dull ringing in my ears. Well, yeah, she said with a slight shrug, as if explaining something simple to a child. She took another sip of wine. I mean, come on, it's you. The 2 words that had once felt like a confession of love now landed with the weight of a tombstone. She must have seen the blood drain from my face, because she let out another little laugh, a nervous one this time. Liam, don't look so shocked. It's just a little embarrassing, you know? Embarrassing? The word came out flat, dead. Well, think about it, she said, leaning forward as if we were co-conspirators again, but this time in my own humiliation. Sarah was practically salivating. She was probably expecting me to say I was dating some hotshot from the marketing department, or a doctor, or, I don't know, someone with a more interesting job than data analyst. She said my job title with a faint, dismissive sneer. Telling them it's you? A guy from our own cubicle farm? They'd have a field day. It's just easier this way. Easier. The soundtrack was gone. The cozy warmth of the restaurant turned cold and sharp. I looked at her, at the woman I'd been sharing my bed, my thoughts, and my secret joy with, and I saw a stranger. The casual cruelty in her expression wasn't malicious. It was worse. It was innate. It was the simple, unvarnished truth of how she saw me. I wasn't a prize. I was an embarrassment. Our beautiful secret wasn't a treasure she was protecting. It was a shame she was hiding. The foundation of the last 5 months crumbled into dust in the space of a single, casual sentence. The world didn't tilt. It simply snapped into a new, horrifyingly clear focus. The ringing in my ears intensified, swallowing the restaurant's ambience whole. I could see Qley's mouth moving, forming words, justifications, maybe, or further explanations, but I couldn't hear them. It was as if a blast door had slammed down in my mind, shutting out the noise, the hurt, and most importantly, shutting out her. I watched her, a strange sense of clinical detachment settling over me. I saw the moment her casual amusement began to curdle into confusion, then into a flicker of alarm. She was waiting for me to get it, to laugh it off, to agree that yes, of course, our relationship was something to be hidden away like a shameful receipt. I didn't. Instead, I moved. My actions felt pre-programmed, smooth and efficient. I raised my hand and made eye contact with our waiter. A sharp, slight gesture. "Liam? Say something." Qley's voice finally pierced the static. It was laced with a nervous edge. "God, you're not actually upset, are you?" It was a joke. "You're so sensitive." The waiter arrived. "Yes, sir? Another drink." "The check, please," I said, my voice remarkably steady, a flat plane of calm. Separate. Qley's voice went up an octave. "What are you doing?" "Liam, come on. Don't be like this. It's not a big deal." I didn't look at her. I kept my gaze on the waiter until he nodded and retreated. Then, I finally met her eyes. The warmth I usually felt there was gone, replaced by a cool, assessing clarity. It was the look I gave to a spreadsheet full of errors. "You said it was easier this way," I stated, the words devoid of all emotion. "I'm agreeing with you. This makes it easier." I pulled my wallet from my jacket pocket, the movement crisp and deliberate. I counted out exact cash for my half of the meal, plus a generous tip. I didn't want to wait for a card machine. I wanted a clean, financial severance. "Liam, this is ridiculous," she hissed, her embarrassment now turning to anger. "You're overreacting. You're going to throw away what we have over one stupid comment." I placed the money on the table, the bills neatly aligned. I stood up, pushing my chair back. The legs scraped against the tile floor, a final, grating sound. "What we had," I corrected her softly, "was a fiction I was apparently writing by myself." "Goodbye, Qley." I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. I didn't slow down. I walked out of the olive grove, the bell on the door jingling a cheerful farewell behind me. The cool night air hit my face, and I took a deep, shuddering breath that felt like the first one I'd taken in 5 months. On the 20-minute walk home, I pulled out my phone. My fingers were steady. I navigated to her contact, hit block this caller, and confirmed without a moment's hesitation. Then I deleted the text thread, a long, scrolling history of our secret life vanishing into digital oblivion. It wasn't an act of rage. It was administrative. It was necessary disposal. The silence that filled my apartment that weekend was profound. It wasn't the lonely silence I'd known before her. It was a clean, purposeful silence. The ghost of her perfume wasn't a haunting. It was a smell that would soon fade. I didn't break down. I didn't cry. I felt empty. But it was a productive emptiness, like a cleared-out room ready for a fresh coat of paint. Monday morning, I put on a crisp, blue shirt. I walked into Nexitech at 8:58 a.m., my usual time. My heart was a steady, neutral drum in my chest. I saw her immediately, hovering by the coffee machine. Her eyes snapped to me, wide and anxious. She looked tired. She opened her mouth, a silent plea ready to form into words. "Morning," I said. It was a neutral, professional greeting, the same one I'd offered to Ted from accounting. I didn't break my stride. I walked past her, toward my desk, my focus already on the day's tasks. A few hours later, an email popped up in my personal work inbox. From Qley Reynolds. Subject: "Can we talk?" I clicked reply. Subject: "Can we talk?" All relevant project communication should be routed through the official team channel for transparency. Thanks, Liam. I hit send and immediately created a rule that would automatically redirect any future emails from her address to a specific project folder I rarely checked. I wasn't being petty. I was establishing a boundary with the efficiency I applied to any other workflow problem. This became the new pattern. I was a ghost of professionalism. If she spoke to me in a meeting, I would answer concisely, my eyes on the presentation, never on her. If our paths crossed in the kitchen, I would offer a tight, meaningless smile and continue on my way. My calm indifference was an impenetrable fortress, and she began to crumble against its walls. I saw it happening in slow motion. The confident woman who had casually eviscerated me over dinner was gone, replaced by a jumpy, distracted shell. She started making uncharacteristic mistakes in her reports. During a client call, she lost her train of thought twice, her face flushing a deep, mortified red. Sarah and Mark, the very co-workers from her story, started noticing. I saw them shooting her concerned looks, then confused ones, when they saw my utter lack of reaction to her downward spiral. The office gossip, once a thing I feared, was now a neutral observer. The narrative was no longer, "Are Liam and Qley a thing?" It had shifted to, "What the hell is wrong with Qley? And why does Liam act like she doesn't exist?" The silence I had wielded was no longer just my shield. It had become her prison. She was trapped in the consequences of her own words, and everyone was starting to see the walls close in. But for me, the office was quiet again. I had my work. I had my peace. And that was enough. For now. The Project Sigma wrap-up drinks were held at the Brass Tap, a generic but spacious bar downtown. The entire analytics team was there, the air thick with the forced cheer of a mandated social event. I was there, playing my part. I laughed at Ted's bad jokes, discussed the NBA playoffs with Mark, and listened to Sarah's vacation plans. I was a model of pleasant, superficial engagement. And I never once looked at Qley. She was a vortex of nervous energy on the periphery of my vision. I could feel her watching me, a tense, anxious presence. She'd been drinking white wine quickly, the glass rarely empty for long. The careful professionalism I'd maintained was clearly driving her insane. She needed a crack, a fissure in my calm, and I had given her nothing. The moment came as I was returning from the restroom. She intercepted me in the narrow, slightly darker hallway that led back to the main bar. Sarah and Mark were standing at the end of the bar, maybe 15 feet away, close enough to hear a raised voice. "Liam, please." Her voice was a strained whisper. She stood directly in my path, her eyes wide and glistening. The smell of her perfume was suddenly overpowering, mixed with the sharp tang of alcohol. "This is insane. You can't just ignore me forever. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean it." I stopped, but I didn't lean in. I kept my posture open, facing the main room, my expression neutral. "You should get back to the group," I said, my tone suggesting she was blocking traffic. "It was a stupid thing to say," she pleaded, her voice rising. She reached out and grabbed my forearm, her fingers tight. A public, possessive gesture. From the corner of my eye, I saw Sarah glance over, then quickly look away, pretending not to watch. "Please. I miss you. I miss us." I looked down at her hand on my arm, then slowly, deliberately, back up to her face. I didn't shake her off. I just peeled her fingers away, one by one, with a calm, firm pressure. My touch was cool and impersonal. "You're making a scene, Qley." "I don't care," she hissed, but her eyes darted towards Sarah and Mark, confirming that she very much did. I was embarrassed because I like you so much. I didn't know how to explain it to them. It came out wrong. There it was. The rewrite. The attempt to gaslight the both of us into believing her cruelty was a twisted form of affection. A week ago, it might have worked. Now it was just noise. I took a small step back, creating a physical chasm between us. My voice was low, but perfectly clear in the hallway's acoustics, carrying just enough. "There's nothing to explain. We're co-workers. That's all we ever should have been." The finality in my tone was absolute. It wasn't angry. It wasn't hurt. It was a simple, declarative statement of fact. I saw the words land on her like physical blows. Her face, already pale, went ashen. Her jaw trembled, and for a terrifying second, I thought she might actually crumble to the floor. I didn't wait for her to recover. I sidestepped her, walked back to the group at the bar, and picked up my soda water with lime as if I'd just been briefly detained by a lost tourist. "Everything all right?" Mark asked, his voice low. "Fine," I said, taking a sip. "Qley just had a question about the Project Sigma archives." "All sorted." I didn't look back down the hallway. I didn't need to. I could feel the scorching heat of her humiliation from across the room. The power dynamic, once so brutally defined by her, had not just equalized, it had flipped entirely. She was now the object of office pity and gossip, and I was the unflappable professional who had to be rescued from her desperate clutches. The very people she'd been embarrassed to tell were now witnesses to her utter defeat. The bar incident should have been the end of it. For me, it was. But for her, it was just the start of a new, more desperate phase. A few days later, my phone buzzed on my nightstand. A text from a number I hadn't deleted from my contacts yet, a practical oversight that now delivered her final, unraveled state directly to me. Qley, I can't sleep. I can't eat. I see the way everyone looks at me now. You've turned them all against me. Was it your plan all along to humiliate me like that? I read it, felt nothing, and went back to reading my book. An hour later, another buzz. Qley, I said I was sorry. What more do you want from me? Do you want me to beg? Is that it? Fine. I'm begging. Please, Liam. I can't do this. Then, the following morning, a final, long ramble that cycled through self-pity, negotiation, and finally, the true colors I'd seen at the restaurant. Qley, you know what? Fine. You're a heartless robot. You never really loved me, or you would forgive me. You just enjoyed having a secret, and now you've found a new way to feel superior. I hope you're happy with your sterile, empty life. You'll die alone in that apartment, and no one will care. Do not reply. I stared at the last message, at the childish, nuclear fury of it. There was no pain, only a profound sense of closure. This was who she was. The casual cruelty over dinner wasn't a mistake. It was the core of her. The desperation at the bar was the mask slipping. This was the foundation. I didn't reply immediately. I went to the gym. I cooked myself breakfast. I waited until I was sitting at my desk, the sun streaming into my clean, quiet apartment, a fresh cup of coffee at my elbow. I felt good. I felt light. Then, and only then, I picked up my phone. My response wasn't for her, not really. It was for me. The final entry in a logbook I was about to close forever. Me. Qley, I've moved on. Your words at dinner didn't break my heart. They cleared my vision. What you want now isn't me. It's the attention of the man you were embarrassed to be with. That man is gone. Do not contact me again outside of work necessities. I hit send. There was no instant reply. No typing indicator. Just silence. The beautiful, clean silence I had reclaimed. I deleted the entire message thread. I went into my contacts and permanently deleted her number. The administrative severance was complete. I looked around my apartment. It wasn't sterile or empty. It was peaceful. It was mine. The ghost of her perfume was long gone, replaced by the simple scent of coffee and clean laundry. She had tried to make me feel small, to make our connection something shameful. But in doing so, she had given me the greatest gift, the blinding clarity of her true nature and the quiet strength to walk away without a backward glance. She was a coworker, a problematic one I had successfully managed, and I was finally, unequivocally, free. Thanks for watching.